Hi, and welcome to And If Love Remains. I'm your host, Mike Lovett. And today, I'm going to do a quick review on the movie, The Most Reluctant Convert by C.S. Lewis. Just went and saw it with my wife and some friends, and it was really good. It was really good, and I hope people will go see it. I want to say a few things about it first. If you do go see it, I kind of recommend you to show up late. Unfortunately, there's at least in the one that we saw, I don't know if they're going to fix this, but there's a 12-minute making of presentation, which is really too bad because it takes away from the movie. I remember turning to my wife and saying, "Wow, that's a bold choice." Gave away some, exciting, stuff, and it was, some of the mystery. It'd been much better afterwards, and I think they recognize that. So I'd recommend show up, 10 minutes, 12 minutes late to this movie. Also, I think you need to have the correct expectations for this movie. This isn't like a dramatic recreation of, spoiler alert, of C.S. Lewis going from atheist to Christian. That's not what this is. It is a one-man show with some scenes. And once I got my head around that, it made a lot of sense of what the picture was trying to do. It was actually taken from a one-man play, I guess, and that is, again, it's well done, it's well acted. The words are C.S. Lewis's, so it's you can't go wrong with that. There are times when it felt wordy, but that is C.S. Lewis, and if you like C.S. Lewis, this is a must see. You got to go see this movie. There is some interesting information if you're not familiar with his, as Michael Ward said in the podcast earlier, his reversion story, where he reverts to Christianity. But if you're not as familiar with that, there's some really interesting moments. There's great insight on Tolkien. It goes into reasons, and they're very personal reasons. I actually appreciate this about the movie, is that it goes into why he became an atheist in the first place, at a young age, what drove him from the church, and some of them are similar to what I think a lot of people experience, disillusion, with church, with God, why bad things happen to people, that sort of thing. And so, in some ways it's very similar, but in some ways it's different. And he, because of his mind is very, sharp mind, and the way he was raised as a lover of books and a lover of reading, it talks about that actually it's very, very good talking about that. He tries to take things to its logical conclusion. So therefore, if this is true and this is true, then this must be true. So, so that is really interesting. He talks about some of his engaging in, occultish ideas, his engaging in kind of esoteric ideas. And then it talks about his him coming back, and how, and again, because of his quick mind and his deep and honest thinking, and I have to say something about that real quick. I think that being an honest thinker is a rare and important trait. Being able to accept when you're wrong, have a bit of humility about your ideas, not necessarily giving up on them or not engaging with them and defending them stridently, but having a sense of humility about your ideas and being willing to take on other people's ideas and either incorporate. There's a great scene where Tolkien and Lewis are walking, and Tolkien talks about the how much Lewis loves the myths that he already knows, the ones from ancient time and medieval time, and he says, "Why do you love them?" And then goes into, well, the Christian myth is the same, and we should feel just as good about that. The only difference between that myth and the other myths is it actually happened. That story reminds me of a story from the New Testament, actually, and it's a story about meeting people where they're at, like Tolkien met Lewis where he was at. Jesus was resurrected at this time, and he's meeting with his disciples, and they're eating, and he famously asked Peter, "Do you love me?" And Peter says yes, and Jesus asks him 3 times. Well, my understanding is maybe a better idea or translation of that would be that scene might sound something more like this, where Jesus asks Peter, "Do you love me?" And Peter says, "Yes, I'm your friend." And then Jesus asks again, "Peter, do you love me?" And then Peter says, I'm your friend." And then Jesus says, "Are you my friend?" Now, so "Do you love me?" asking 3 times. That, why does he ask him 3 times? Well, maybe it's because he's trying to meet Peter where he's at. And at that moment, Peter was at "I'm your friend." And so Jesus was meeting him where he was at. And I think that's a great lesson. I think that's what Tolkien was doing with Lewis. You know these myths. You love these myths. Well, this is just the great myth. This is the myth that is true. And it's why it resonates with you and with all of us. So again, great movie, The Most Reluctant Convert. I got fantastic news that movie, it was supposed to just be a 1-day special event. Well, because of the success, it has been extended. And so go to cslewismovie.com and go see if it's playing, because I hope you go and check it out. If you're a C.S. Lewis fan, you have to. It's great. It's wonderful. And hope you enjoy it. This is Michael Levitt, and you've been listening to And If Love Remains.